Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be doing a follow-up video on my connecting Wi-Fi routers together. On my first video I connected two Wi-Fi routers together. In this video using WDS technology. In this video I am going to connect three Wi-Fi routers together using WDS technology again. So just let me recap on what I'm going to do here and what the purpose is. Number one, I'm going to connect my Netgear WNR 2000 version 3. Yes, this is an old router, but it's an oldie but a goodie, and it works just fine. This is going to be my main router, and it's going to be connected to the internet and my modem. It does not have WDS technology, and it will work just fine because it is the main router. The main router does not have to have WDS technology at all to work. If it does, it won't hurt it. If it doesn't, it won't hurt it either. So I'm just showing that as an example on this. So that'll be the primary. The secondary is going to be a WR841N TP-Link, which does have WDS technology in it. And you can get one of these for under 25 bucks on Amazon or eBay. I'll put links for that in the video description below if you don't have one. But it has the technology, the WDS technology in it, and it works great. So this is a TP-Link WR841. That'll be my secondary router. My tertiary router or third router is going to be another TP-Link router. This is a WR940N, and it's a slightly faster, slightly more advanced router, but it has the WDS technology in it as well. And again, I'll put the link for it in the video description below. And it's under $30 again on Amazon or eBay. And again, in the description below if you want to get that. You do need two routers that have WDS technology. They don't have to be these two. They can be any two routers that have WDS technology. They should work just fine regardless of who made them, as long as the WDS technology is inside them. So in this case, it's applying to, well, this video applies to the hardware I'm showing, but if you have the technology in your hardware and it's not the same, just follow the instructions and you should be able to get this done. So next I'm going to show you what we're going to accomplish in this video, and then I'm going to go through the steps on how to do it. Here's the configuration that I'm proposing on this video. I've got a primary router, the WNR 2000 version 3 Netgear, connected to the internet using a modem. It's got Wi-Fi on it, and it's enabled and working. And it is the DHCP function on it is on. By default, both those things are on when you take this router out of the box. Most routers that are Wi-Fi will have both of those features turned on. I will show you in this video where to check to see if that is on your router. Also, it's connected to the internet using a modem. So I'm assuming that yours is connected likewise, or at least it's connected to the internet in some way. Now, the secondary router is a Wi-Fi router as well, the WR841N TP-Link. And it will connect to the primary using Wi-Fi, so it has to be within range of it. So it has to be able to see the primary router. And once it connects using WDS technology to connect to the primary, it will be able to share out the internet to clients as well. It'll be able to share out all network resources to anything connected to it, whether it's through Wi-Fi or through a hardwired connection. Now, I mentioned WDS technology. The primary does not need to have that technology. Only the secondary and the tertiary or the third router need to have that technology. The third router, again, can be anywhere. I'm proposing the garage on this one, living room on the first one. And it has to be within Wi-Fi range, again, of the primary router. So it needs to be able to see the Wi-Fi signal broadcast from this router in order to connect to it. Once it connects using WDS, it will share out the internet to any clients connected to it, whether they're hardwired or Wi-Fi. Now, a nice thing about this is all three of these routers will be part of the same network. So anything connected to the primary, like say a network printer, will be able to be seen on the secondary and the tertiary, regardless of where you're connected. So everything on this network is shared amongst everything on this network. So again, if you're sharing a printer on this router, and this router will be able to see it as well. They'll all be part of the same network. Next, I'm going to show you how to connect all this together, what is going to be required as far as configuration goes. Here's the information we're going to need to gather in order to have this happen. The number one and most important piece of information is the IP address for your main router. I will show you how to get this information regardless of the router that you have. So I'm just showing you what you need here. Like I said, the primary can be any Wi-Fi router. It does not require WDS technology. And DHCP needs to be on, and that's usually on by default, so don't stress too much about that. What we need to find out is what the IP address is of the primary. In my case, it's 192.168.1.1. In your case, it may be this as well, or it may be something else like 192.168.0.1, which is the most common other than 1.1 that it can be. So in this picture, what I'm showing is if you have an IP address on the primary that is not 192.168.1.1, it's 0.1, then I'm showing you how to change that. But in this case, if it's 1.1, then your secondary is going to have to be 192.168.1.2. Your third router is going to be 192.168.1.3. Again, as you see here, if the primary is not that, if it's 192.168.0.1, I lay it out here. You can see I say X is 0, and you can see that basically whatever you have in the primary's X octet, or this number, goes into the secondary and to the third. So if you had 0 here where the X is, then 0 goes here and 0 goes here. So you'd have 192.168.0.1, 192.168.0.2, and 192.168.0.3. Okay? But I'm not going to go through both of those configurations. I'm assuming that you will follow the example I show here and change it accordingly if it needs to be. Otherwise, these are the 3 IP addresses we're going to be dealing with. So next, I'm going to show you how to how to connect to the primary router to get your primary IP address, which is the 192.168 number that you see here. So let's go find the IP address for the router. I'll show you how to do that quickly. Let's go to your Start button here, or your Windows button. Then we're going to go to Gear, which is Settings. And under here, we're going to go to Network and Internet. Scroll down to Network and Sharing Center. Here we're going to go to Change Adapter Settings. And you'll note that I have 3 connections here. And you can tell from the red X's that I'm not connected to Ethernet or Bluetooth. I'm connected to Wi-Fi, because you see the little green bars. That tells you I'm connected to it. Now, you may be connected through Ethernet. So I'm going to connect my Ethernet here so you guys can see what that's like. There we go. And I'm going to disconnect the Wi-Fi down here. There. And now you can see that I have a red X on the Wi-Fi. That's how you know you're not connected to Wi-Fi. And I have no X on the Ethernet. Okay, so whatever doesn't have a red X on it, that's what you're connected to. Okay, and you should be able to browse the internet when you're currently, before you come and get this setting. So make sure you can browse the internet. And then once you've done that and you can browse the internet, you know you're connected to your main router. Here, what you're going to do on either one of these connections, depending on which one is not red X'd, you're going to right-click it and choose Status. Now, if you right-click the wireless connection and that's what you got that you're connected to, it will give you the same information. So here we're going to go to Details, and then we're going to go to IPv4 Default Gateway. And here you see a number. That number is your IP address for your router. That's 192.168.1.1 on my case. So I'm going to open up a Notepad here. So Notepad, and note that down. Write that down. So it's important. 192.168.1.1. And you may want to print this or save it, keep it for future reference, so you don't have to go looking for this. That's what we have there. And you can see here, I'm going to close this off and disconnect my Ethernet. Now I'm not connected to anything. Everything has a red X to it. Turn on the Wi-Fi. Connect to my main router. There we go. and you can see that instantly changed over here. Then we're going to go right click it, choose status, same procedure as it is on the Ethernet connection. Click on details, and you'll see that I have the same number, 192.168.1.1. So that's where my main router is. Now, again, you don't have to do that on both connections, just on the one that's active and the one that allows you to surf the internet. So close this off, close this off, close this off. So let's take the IP address. I'm just going to highlight it, right click it, choose copy, open up a browser window, and we're going to go to the router and get configure it and get some information from it. Okay, so we're going to right click here, paste it in. You can just type it in if you want, 192.168.1.1. And if you're going to the router, the correct place, it should ask you for a username and password. You know, it's different for every different manufacturer, but the default username and password for the Netgear router is admin for the username and password for the password. Now, you should change those. They shouldn't be left to the defaults. If you have a different kind of router, like a TP-Link, you'll have a different default password. In the case of the TP-Link router, the default password would be admin for the username and admin for the password. And whatever manufacturer of router you have, there will be a default password. Hopefully, you're not still using that, because that makes your router really easy to hack. You should change it. It should have been changed when it was set up. So it's either in your documentation, on a sticker on the router, or whoever set up your router will know what it is. Okay? If you don't have any of those things, the only way to get back into your router without the username and password is to do what they call a hardware reset, which I don't recommend, because that will take every setting on your router off and turn it to the default settings. But the default settings will also return the default password. But in my case, I'm still using it. I don't recommend you do. So here we're going to go admin and password for Netgear. Those are the admin. Those are the username and password to get into it, the default. Okay, and it's going to log into the main page. Let me move this down here out of the way. And in the Netgear settings, what we're looking for in any router that we're setting up, regardless of the manufacturer, we're looking for the DHCP settings, or the DHCP server settings. In this case, we're going to find it in this router under Setup and LAN. Usually, in most routers, it's under wherever your LAN setup is. So we're going to click on LAN setup, and here you'll see the DHCP server settings as well as the router's IP address setting, which is, of course, 192.168.1.1. And in your case, if you've got a different IP address, as you saw on my router picture, there's a possibility that your IP address may not be 192.168.1.1. It could be 192.168.0.1 or 2.1 or 3.1. And this picture here will explain to you how to handle that. So if yours is not on 1.1, then you will go to the browser page of 192.168.0.1, for example. Okay? Usually it's either 192.168.1.1 or 192.168.0.1, but once you check using my procedure, you'll know. And the DHCP server is set to assign IP addresses to all the network devices on your network, and by default it will be assigning a unique name or IP address to every device on your network. We need to make sure that it doesn't do that for a certain amount of IP addresses, and in my case I'm just going to hit 10 here, and that gives us 9 free IP addresses that the DHCP server will never assign an IP address to, because we don't want it to do that to your default, so to your second router or your third router. So we're just going to set it to 10. That gives us lots of space. We'll hit apply. And again, you don't really need to know why you're doing this. Just set it correctly and you won't ever have a problem. Just set, so 10 is fine. It gives you more than enough space for 2 more devices. Actually, it gives you enough space for 9 more devices. So you want to make sure that you check these settings to make sure that they took. So let's go back to LAN setup. For some reason it kicked me out. And you can see that it's set to 192.168.1.10. And that's perfect. Okay? So next thing we need to get out of this router is and again, if you're on 0.1, then you just put 0.1 in here for the address, and you'll go to the same places and change these settings. Here we're going to go to the wireless setup, and under the wireless, what you need is the SSID. So what we're going to do is write this stuff down. So highlight it, right-click it, choose copy, put it into my Notepad. This out of the way. And you want to keep this information. Why not, right? You don't have to go hunting for it every time. So you can see I'm using the IP address, and I'm going to put its specifics down. So it's SSID. And what the SSID on your router is, just so in case you don't know, it's the username you use to log into the Wi-Fi account or the Wi-Fi connection on your router. So we've got the SSID. In my case, it's main router. Yours, it may be different, whatever yours is called. The other thing we need is the passphrase down here. Okay, so we're going to, again, I'm going to copy that, put it into my Notepad so I remember it, right? And in my case, it's Silly Inc. 256. Yours will probably be different, no doubt. Let's go here, and we've copied that. So that's all we need to know from that router. We're going to minimize this, or we can close it if you wish, get it out of the way. So we go back to my picture here, and now we've got the information we need from the primary router, and it's configured correctly. DHCP is enabled. It's got the right range. Everything's cool. And now we can continue to the secondary router, and after that, the tertiary or third router. And you can see what formula I used here. And again, if your IP address is not 192.168.1.1, it's say 0, then all these ones here with the underscore will be changed to 0, okay? So whatever you have, change it to that, and then go to the router's IP address and configure it correctly. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to physically connect the TP-Link WR841N wireless, with a wire to the laptop, and then I'll show you how to deal with that from there. All right, I'm going to hard connect to this router using a LAN cable. All right, this is a patch cord that came with the actual router itself, and it's two RJ45 male connectors, just a patch cord. And I'm going to power up the router, so plug the power into it, power it up, and plug this cord into the back of it. And I'll show you where. Any one of these 4 amber ports, not the blue port in this case, that's the WAN port. We only want to connect to the LAN ports. And another thing is, after this router is actually configured and connected wirelessly to the other router, these ports are available for you to plug anything you want into them to either access stuff on the network or surf the internet. So these 4 ports will actually become useful after you configure this router to connect to the other router. This port is the LAN port, the WAN port. It won't be useful. You don't use the blue port or the internet WAN port. Just the LAN ports. You can't. Okay, so 4 more devices can be plugged into that. So we're going to plug in the LAN cable to any one of those amber ports. And yes, you can do this wirelessly if you know how to get to this router wirelessly when it's powered up. But this is the easiest way to configure it. So then we take the other end of the cable, plug it into the laptop's LAN port or network port, and we're off to the races. Now, if you don't have a laptop, you can do this on a PC if it has a network card in it. Outside of that, I would say, hey, log on to it wirelessly using its wireless settings. But this is the easiest way to do it, and that's the way I'm going to show you. They're powered up and physically plugged into the laptop. At this point, we want to turn off any wireless that we have, because we want to make sure that we're only dealing with the hardwired connection. So I'm going to click on my Wi-Fi here and just turn it off. There we go. So click on the Wi-Fi icon at the bottom and click on main router for mine. I don't know what yours would be called, but just turn it off. Then at this point, we have to connect to the router. And if you don't know your router's IP address, it's the same procedure as finding it for the main one. Just go to your Windows button, go to your Gear button, and then go to your network. Well, let me get this out of the way. Network and Internet here. and down to Network and Sharing Center. And of course, change adapter settings. Once you go there, then you'll see that I'm connected to the TP-Link here with the Ethernet connection. So right-click it, choose Status, go to Details, and once again we see the IPv4 default gateway. This time it's 192.168.0.1, but we're going to change that according to our graphic here to 192.168.1.2. So we're going to do that first. Let's go do that. So again, we know right now that it is on, let's see right here, 192.168.0.1. So we're going to open up the browser window. Let's do it clean. There we go. I'm going to go 192.168.0.1. And since I reset this router to factory defaults, you know, the factory default password's in there, and that's admin for the username. And oops, got the caps on here. Admin for the username and admin for the password. That's TP-Link's default passwords, admin. So here it's trying to go through some sort of default setup. We're not going to do that. We're just going to click on exit here. Then we're at the status page, which is generally the first thing on the menu over here. What we want to do is go to network and then LAN. And here you can see the IP address, 192.168.0.1. Well, we want to change this to .1.2, like this. Then we're going to hit save. And it says, modification of the LAN settings will result in rebooting the device. So we're going to do that, hit OK, and the device reboots. And I'll pick this up on the other side of the reboot. All right, so the router rebooted itself. Now it's on 192.168.1.2. You can verify that by opening up the browser window clean again, like I said, so that we're not dealing with cached information on the browser. We're going to go 192.168.1.2, and that is according to what I showed you on this graphic, right? So secondary router, 192.168.1.2, right? Minimize that. We'll go here, hit enter, and we got to log in again. Once again, the default password, you should change these. Admin for TP-Link, and log in, right? Next thing we're going to do is go to wireless over here, and under wireless we're going to go to actually right here, enable WDS bridging. So that's what we're doing. Basically, we're going to use WDS bridging to connect to this router, connect this router to another router. So that's our option there. So just do that. Here, you could just put in all the information manually, but it's a hassle. I'll show you how to get the information. Well, the SSID to be bridged is your for mine would be main router. That's the SSID for the main router. And but this information here, like the MAC address, is harder to get. So I'll show you how to manually get that information. But right now, we're just going to hit this button right here, the survey button, which makes this basically almost automatic. So let's go. And then you see all the listed information for all the routers in my area that it's found, right? So we've got main router here. That's what we want. That's what we want to connect to. And look how handy this whole thing is. Choose the one you want, click on connect, and it auto-populates these fields, okay? Now, if your router doesn't have a survey option but does have WDS, I wouldn't see why it wouldn't have the survey option, but if it doesn't, the way to find the MAC address for your other router is to connect to the other router and open up a command window, and I'll show you how to do that. That's CMD, like so, and then you'll see command prompt up there. So we're going to click on that. And once you're connected to the other router, you do this command, which is ARP-A, okay? And that shows you all the MAC addresses of all the routers and devices on your network. And you can see there that the MAC address for my 192.168.1.2 is this number right here, dynamic. Now, as you can see here, you don't see 192.168.1.1 because I'm not currently connected to it. You got to connect to it. So you have to either connect to it with a wire, with a LAN cable, or with your wireless connection. And once you do that, you'll get that IP address. So let's do that. I'm going to disconnect quickly here from my Ethernet. Just disable that. I'm going to connect my wireless to the main router, which is right there, main router, connect. And then we're going to go to our command, or DOS shell is what I call it, but this is the command prompt. And here we're going to type in ARP-A again, and now you know the MAC address of the primary router right there, okay? So, you know, you have the ability to do this manually, as well as automatically using the router. So just wanted to show you that as a quick aside. So if you don't have the ability to survey your network and get the MAC address, which is right there, as you can see, 10.0D7F6245DC, the ARP address gives you that same MAC address when you connect to the other router, the ARP-A command. Okay, so little trick. It's for you to find out your MAC addresses on everything on your network, but you have to be connected to the network that you want to find the MAC address to. So, all right, so let's reverse what we just did. We're going to disconnect from the main router. So now we're not on any network because I've disabled my network card here, my Ethernet card. So I'm going to enable it again. All right, so like I said, just to, you know, now I'm connected to it again. Just an aside to show you how this all works. How basically what I just showed you, the router does that automatically when you hit the survey button, but you may not have that on your router. TP-Links do. So we're here. We're setting up WDS. We picked the main router from the survey page. If you don't have that survey functionality, now you know how to get that information. Then we'll go here to WDS mode. Leave everything on the defaults, but it's looking for a password, okay? So the password field, in this case, is going to be the same password as your SSID password, or your passphrase that we put into over here on our Notepad for the main router, which was Silly Inc. Okay, so that's the SSID for the other router to connect to it wirelessly. We need that over here. So I'm just going to copy that. I'll put it over here. A, V, there we go. Silly Inc. 256. So we're going to say save here. It says channel cannot be auto while DS bridging is enabled. Do you want to change the channel on the app, on the bridged app channel? Yes. We're going to say OK on this. So it automatically changed the channel to the other machine's channel, which is 11. So that's automatic too. So which is really nice. So now we've got that changed over. We want to scroll down here and hit save to save all those settings. All right. Now let's get some information out of here first. You can see that the wireless network name of this router is TP-Link D6Z-C0. So I'm going to copy that, put it into my Notepad, so we know that the secondary router's SSID is TP-Link D6C0. Okay, so that's what we're going to connect to on wireless for the second router. Now, in order to connect to the second router, we also need the password. So we're going to go to wireless security over here. And you can see that the wireless password in this case is a number, which is 781-144-316. So I'm going to copy that. Okay, well, Control C will copy it for me. some reason I'm not getting the option to copy that, which is probably a security feature. So here we're going to do passphrase. So you can see that I like to keep records. So you should keep records so you know what all this stuff is. All right, so there it is, 781444316. So now we know the SSID and password for our secondary router, right? So here we can hit save one more time if you wish. Doesn't really matter. That information was saved already. There's one more setting we need to do on this router in order to not create a conflict with the other router, and that is the DHCP. And you can see here that it's clearly labeled, so DHCP, right? Start address, 192.168, doesn't matter. We're going to disable it because once this router connects to the other router, it's going to get the IP, it's going to use the DHCP server on the other router to serve out IP addresses. Okay, so we turn that off. You never want two DHCP servers running on the same network segment. It's called a rogue DHCP router, and it's no fun. So we'll just turn it off by disabling it. Note that will not take effect until this device reboots. Okay, then it gives you the option to reboot it. So we're going to hit OK, and then once again choose to reboot it one more time. Okay, so it's restarting. When it comes back up, it will be ready to be connected wirelessly. So I'm going to disconnect my LAN cable here, and I'll show you what happens. Well, you know what happens. Let's disconnect it here. And you see I got the red X, and I got a red X on everything because my Wi-Fi is turned off. So let's turn the Wi-Fi on. Here we go. Okay. And where do we want to connect? We want to connect the TP-Link D6C0. Now you can change it to whatever you wish, but let's just click on that to connect to it. And then you can choose to connect automatically too, so let's do that. And there we go. And you can see my connection was interrupted because I pulled the cable out of it, right? So we'll just wait for the connection. So here we are. Look at that. Boom. So now we are connected wirelessly to the TP-Link DC60. And if we've done everything correctly, we should at this point be able to browse the internet. Notice how it's on 192.168.1.2. Okay, exactly where it should be and where it's going to be forever once you set it. And you can put that IP address for the secondary router right here if you wish. So, like I said, keep records. There you go. Right? Now save this somewhere, and whenever you need this information again, you don't have to go digging for it. You can even put the ARP number, the MAC addresses in there if you wish, but in this case, you don't really need it. So let's minimize that. I can try logging in here, or not try. I can log in. I'm going to log in. As you can see, I can log in, no problem. Now, are we connected to the other router? Let's find out. Let's do 192. Actually, let me show you on this router where that's going to tell you. Okay, WDS status, run. Okay, so I'm assuming that means it's connected. So let's see if it on the menu over here says anything about it. No, WDS status. Status is in it. Connection is down. Scan again. Authenticate, associate. Try to associate. Run. Okay, so run associated successfully. Okay, so when it says run, according to here on the menu, we're associated successfully. But there's only one way to find that out for sure. So let's go 192.168.1.1, and that should get us to the Netgear router, which is admin password, and ta-da, we're into the Netgear router. Now, last and final test, can we surf the internet? Let's go take a look at Google. Look at that, we're on Google. And if you want to know what your IP address is, actually we're not going to do that right now, not really important. Let's do, I'm feeling lucky here, feeling lucky, or playful, or whatever. And boom, we are currently running. And today is Robert Moog's 78th birthday. Well, good for him. He had some really neat digital music probably the first synthesizer type music. Not sure about that. But anyway, here we are. We're surfing the internet. You can go to Doodle's archive, prove that. Go wherever you wish. Do what you want. You're basically on your way. Now that we have that secondary router connected to the main router and surfing the internet through Wi-Fi, we're going to do the exact same thing with the third router. We're going to use the patch cable again. We're going to plug it into one of the LAN ports on the back. Again, only one of the orange or amber type ports. We won't be using that one. Same thing applies when this router is connected to the network. You'll have 4 ports on the back that you can plug into and connect anything you wish to it. So first, LAN cable on one of the LAN ports, not the blue WAN port. The other end into the computer or laptop in my case. There we go, like so. And then we're going to power up the router by plugging in power and turning it on. So basically, hit the power button, watch it boot up, and once that's happened, oops, didn't get that quite in there on the LAN port. And if you don't have a laptop, you have a computer, a normal PC, as long as you have again a LAN port on it, you can go that way. Otherwise, if you know how to log into this router wirelessly, though I don't suggest that, it's not the easiest way to do this, then log into it wirelessly and you can configure it from there. I just don't recommend that. I would recommend that you use the patch cable and connect to it physically like this. So now we're going to go and configure that this router exactly the same way we did the second router. Third router will be the same as the procedure for the second router, except the IP address will be a 1-digit difference. It'll be 192.168.1.3. So let's go set that up. Again, Windows icon button at the bottom left. Click on Settings, the gear icon, Network and Internet, Network and Sharing Center, and change adapter settings. And you can see here that under the network connections that we've got the Wi-Fi is currently on. We want to disable that. We're going to work only on the physically connected black router that we just plugged into the laptop. So I'm just going to disable the Wi-Fi. We'll come back and turn that on. No big deal. Before we're done. So let's go right-click the Ethernet connection where we're connected to that black router, and then choose status, and that'll give us the IPv4 default gateway, which is 192.168.0.1. So we're going to go to a fresh browser window and log into that router using that IP address. So let's do that. So it's going to be 192.168.0.1. Enter. Now you put in whatever you found. If it's not 192.168.0.1, if it's 1.1, go there. So here we're going to type in the default password, and on the TP link it's admin. Remember, change these. There we go. And then it's trying to do a default configuration because I reset it. I'm just going to hit exit here. First thing we're going to set up is the wireless. So we've got the wireless settings, and you can see here all the default settings, which are fine. The wireless network name, or SSID as it's called in most places, is TP-Link, TP-Link underscore 0E46. You can change it to whatever you want, but that's what I'm going to keep here. And I'm going to note it. I've noted it in Notepad right there. Okay, so remember, keep these things in a Notepad, write them down, print them out so you don't forget in the future. It makes your life way easier. You can always come and see this video again if you need to look at yours or how I set mine up. So here we're going to go and enable WDS Bridging again, which gives you, the same screen that the last router gave us, SSID to be bridged, so on and so forth. We're going to click on Survey again. And then we're going to connect to the main router as we have indicated in our graphic right here. We're going back to this one, okay? So it needs a password, and in our case it was CityLink 256, I believe, for the primary. Yep, the main router. So copy it if you wish and paste it in here. Control V will paste it in. So hit the Control key and the V on your keyboard. And it says channel cannot be auto while WDS bridging is enabled. Do you want to change your channel to bridge app channel? Yes. So we're going to hit OK on this. So it'll save that. Then we're going to hit save. We'll hit save again just to make sure it's already saved. Here we're going to go to wireless security on top of that. Why? Because we need to set that up. So wireless security for this router, the wireless password is 80307600. So I'm going to copy that. So Control C into my notes, and you can see that I've already done that. Okay, so Control V will put it back, or right click and hit paste, and you'll put it back in there too. So now we know the SSID and the passphrase, which is what we need to connect it wirelessly to this router when we got it fully configured. So let's go back here. We need to turn off DHCP. So we're going to disable that, hit save. Okay, and it says no, DHCP config will not take effect until this thing reboots. That's fine. Hit OK on that. We're not going to reboot it yet because we've got to change its IP address to 192.168.1.3 as we show here in this graphic, right? So let's go to network again. And yes, follow my procedure and order of doing this, because if you do this out of order or out of sequence, it won't work right. It'll kick you off and you won't be able to do this anymore. So just follow my sequence exactly, okay? So here we're going to go to LAN, and you can see here that it says 192.168.0.1 is the IP address of the router, which is what we have up here in the browser page. We need to change that from 192.168.0.1 to 192.168.1.3, which I showed in the first graphic there. It says modification of the LAN setting will result in rebooting this device. That's perfectly fine. We want to do that right now. I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to reboot. And I'll pick this up when it reboots and show you what you need to do from there. So the router rebooted and brought me back to this web page, which is the 192.168.1.3 web page. If yours doesn't automatically do that, just put the address into the browser, and it should bring you back. Here we're going to actually, at this point, we're just going to log into it. We're still physically connected to it using the LAN connection, okay? So I'm going to hit admin and admin here for the password, username, combination. And what we're looking for after we log in is right here. WDS status, it says run. If you look over here, run means associated successfully, which means this router should be connected to the network wirelessly right now with WDS technology. So what I'm going to do is unplug the router physically from my computer. You can see that I got the X there. We're going to re-enable Wi-Fi because we want to connect to everything on Wi-Fi. Wait for that to happen. And once that happens, we're going to go down here to the wireless icon, which has now connected. So now we're connected to TP-Link D6C0_D6C0. And if we look at our Notepad, you will see that that means we're connected to the secondary router. Okay, so let's see what we can see on the secondary router. Let's go to the primary and then go to the tertiary or the third router. I just turned the third router on and off just to reset it, just to make sure we're clean there. So here we're going to go, we're connected to number 2. So let's see if we can connect to both the primary, which is the 192.168.1.1. That's the netgear. Looks like I can. Admin and password. There we go. Boom, we're in. Let's see if we can connect to number 2, which we're wirelessly connected to, so there really shouldn't be any issue connecting to it. There we go. Admin, admin. And you can see here it is the WR841N. So log into it. Again, the status on the WDS is run, which is successfully associated. Everything's working. I'm sure if I hit on Google here, we can see Google. Yes, we can. All right, and the last but not least, let's see if we can go from the second router to the third router, which is the WR840. Boom, right into it, okay? So here we can go admin and admin again. Again, remember, change these passwords. WDS status, set to run on that router. So we can see all 3 routers from the second router and from the third router if we connect to it, which is right here. I'm going to forget it so we can connect to it. Forget. I'm going to connect to it as if it was the first time I connected to it. So let's see, where is it? Ah, here it is. So we're going to connect. It's going to ask me for a key. Of course, we've written it down in Notepad. Oops, wrong one here, Notepad. And the key or the passphrase is right here, that number. So I'm going to copy it, highlight it, copy it, go over here, and pick it again, connect, right click and paste. You see the eye here if you want to look at it, there it is, and next. Okay, so there we are, connected to the third router, just as we should be, right? So at this point, I don't know if it's going to let me do this, but see if we can just get back into it. No, of course not. It says I can't log in from more than one place, so I'm going to close the browser window, see if that allows me to just come back in again. There we go. So we're going to go 192.168.1.3. Gives me the same problem. I'm going to reset that router, powering it down, powering it back up again. Yeah, they're funny that way. Some of the routers, especially the TP-Links, don't allow you to log into it, and neither does the Netgear. The Netgear doesn't like you logging in from multiple places. So I'm going to do this connection to it again. Right-click it, go back here. There we go. And make sure that we're connected to it. Yeah, see, because I reset it, it switched over. And I'll wait for it to show up again. So we can see the main router, the secondary router, and soon we will see the third router. There we go. There it is, and it's connecting automatically. Connected, secured, right? Let's go to 192.168.1.3 again. And boom, we're in. So now we're connected to the third router. We see the third router. Don't really need to connect to it to really prove anything. Let's make sure we're browsing the internet while we're on it. Sure enough, we are. Let's see if we can see the other 2 routers, 192.168.1.2. There it is. Won't let us log in, right? Please try again later. Weird little quirk. Basically, all you need to do to get past that is reset the router, go back in again. And on the 192.168, it's allowing us to get back in. So, .1.1, and oops, what am I doing? Hello. Admin and password. Okay, now I just reset the second router just to, reboot it and so that you guys can see that you can actually see all 3 routers from all 3 routers. So, so let's go back 192.168.1.2, right? That's the second router. We are currently connected to the third router, the E46. I guess I could have used better names for that, but it's okay. I got it written down. And once it boots up, it will allow me in, hopefully. Let's see. There it is. So admin, we're in. And third router, there it is. And so that's all 3 routers configured and on the internet. Now, if you want to connect a 4th router, a 5th router in the same way, it's just follow the same procedure as you did with the 1st and the 2nd router, but you would just keep changing the IP address from 3 to 4 to 5, so on, right? So you could actually make quite a network of these routers connected to the main router, okay? In a future video, I may show you how to connect one router to another router and to another router. In other words, daisy chain, so that it's not a star topology, but it's a train topology or a serial connection from one router to the next router to the next router, okay? That may be my next video. That's it for my video, connecting 3 wireless routers together using the WDS technology. If you liked this video and it helped you out in some way, do me a huge favor and click on the like button here in the bottom right hand corner and give me a thumbs up. Okay. Also, if you want to see the notes for this video or links for the routers that I used in this video, they're in the video description below as well. Just go down there and see the links for them, and that way you can get them where I got them. I like TP-Link routers. I think they're great. Netgear is good too. It's up to you which you get. And if you get the kind that I've shown on this video, you'll be able to configure them exactly like you saw me do, because they'll have the right pages. Okay. Also on this video, you'll see a picture of me up here in the top corner, and that picture is a subscription link. If you click on that picture, you'll be subscribed to my channel, and then also as a part of that process, you'll see a bell icon. The bell icon is the notification icon, and if you click on that as well, you'll be notified every time I put up a new video, and then you can watch it at your own leisure. Once again, and like always, I want to thank you for watching and for your time.